Hey everyone, today we're counting down our picks for the best car combat games that you should check out. And without further ado, let's dive right in. Twisted Metal 2. Before we continue, I should mention that this channel focuses on games that are available on modern platforms. So yeah, there won't be any vigilante games on this list. They're great, but unfortunately, they're not playable on current systems. Also, this list is all about car combat games and mechanics, so don't expect any combat racing titles or mechanics here. But don't worry, I'll make a separate video on combat racing games later. Anyway, this one is one of the most legendary car combat games ever. And now it's available on both PS5 and PS4, so yeah, check it out. FUMES. Now, this one's an upcoming indie car combat game that looks seriously promising. As you can see, it's basically what you'd get if Twisted Metal, Mad Max, and Dark Souls had a baby. I mean, fighting giant vehicles in a post-apocalyptic wasteland using cars? Come on, how cool is that? And you know what? The dev says that they're going to add more things in the future. For example, a story mode, racing mode, and more stages. So yeah, this is clearly a passion project from a small team, and it's definitely one to keep an eye on. Drivers of the Apocalypse. Okay, it seems like the whole Mad Max theme in video games is gaining momentum again, especially after the 2015 and 2024 movies. As you can see, more and more devs are jumping in to create vehicle-based games inspired by that gritty, post-apocalyptic vibe. And this one? It's basically a Mad Max game that strips out everything else and focuses purely on vehicle combat, and it looks awesome. You can even switch between vehicles mid-fight, which keeps the action dynamic and unpredictable. So if you're into post-apocalyptic chaos and love creative car combat mechanics, this one should definitely be on your radar. Hard Truck Apocalypse. This game, also known as Ex Machina, was one of the most fun vehicle-based games back in the day. But unlike your typical arena-style car combat games, this one plays more like an RPG. You go on a journey, drive massive trucks, and blast your way through missions in a post-apocalyptic world. And, fun fact, it actually shares the same universe as Crossout, a newer car combat game we'll talk about later. So yeah, if you played this back when you still had a full head of hair, now might be the perfect time to re-experience it. Carmageddon, Max Damage. Now, I know I said that this list would focus on car combat games, not combat racing, but come on, the Carmageddon series is a special case. Yeah, it's technically a combat racing game, but let's be real. People remember it for the brutal car combat, not the racing. And if you're still craving for more destruction, this reboot of Carmageddon includes a mode called Car Crusher, which is basically arena-style car combat with power-ups, just without actual weapons. Sure, it leans more toward Demolition Derby than pure car combat, but hey, it's Carmageddon, so of course it's on the list. Chaos on Wheels. Okay, this might be the least known game on the list, but as you can see, it's a proper car combat title made by an indie developer. And honestly, what you see is what you get. Drive fast, shoot hard, and blow up anything that moves. Just don't expect deep lore or complex storylines. This one's all about pure action. So if you're just looking for a quick hit of car combat with bullets and missiles flying everywhere, this one's worth checking out. Just keep your expectations in check and you might have a good time. Cel Damage. Alright, if you're a 90s kid, you might remember this one. It's basically a cartoonish twist on the car combat genre, complete with wacky characters, goofy vehicles, and weapons straight out of a Saturday morning cartoon. Think Twisted Metal meets Tom and Jerry. But now, let's be honest, this probably won't appeal to the younger generation. I mean, it's a bit old, and let's face it, car combat as a genre isn't exactly trending these days. Only us, old people, I mean seasoned gamers, seem to care anymore. So yeah, this one's here purely for nostalgia. Warhammer 40k Speed Freeks. Okay, you probably didn't expect the Warhammer 40k universe to dip into car combat, but here we are and it's an absolute blast. I mean, just look at it. This game is pure chaotic car combat with a fast-paced multiplayer twist. It's loud, it's fun, and it's everything you didn't know you wanted from a 40k game. However, it's currently only available on PC, which is kind of a shame, because honestly, this could be huge on consoles. Still, if you're a fan of the franchise and want something a little different, this one's worth checking out. It's kinda hot right now. Star Wars Demolition. Yeah, I get it, this game is old as hell, but let's be honest, the car combat genre peaked in the 2000s, so of course you'll see a lot of retro titles on this list. That said, if you played this back in its heyday, you already know how addictive it was. It had that just one more match vibe that made it a perfect time waster. And now, like many classics, it's been re-released for PS5 and PS4. So if you're down to relive the chaos, and yes, with the same old graphics, it's definitely worth checking out. Crashday Redline Edition. Now this one's actually an old game that got re-released in 2017 with updated and improved graphics, but don't worry, it's still fun as hell, especially if you love destruction and explosions. And some of you might remember it for the combat racing, others for the deathmatch mode, also known as Wrecking Match. Either way, this game has it all. You can race, you can fight, it's up to you. That said, gameplay-wise, it's definitely a niche experience. Just like black coffee, it's not for everyone, but if it clicks with you, you'll have a blast. Assault Bots. This one isn't technically a car combat game, it's actually a multiplayer robot shooter game. Yeah, you heard that right. Robot shooter is now officially a genre. What a time to be alive, right? Anyway, you can customize your robot to drive like a car, walk like an AT-ST from Star Wars, or even fly like a helicopter or plane. But hey, since this is a list about car combat games, let's all agree to stick with the driving ones, alright? Oh, and by the way, it's free to play, so there's no harm in giving it a shot. Crossout. Now, this is one of the hottest MMO car combat games in recent years, and since it's free to play, there's no harm in giving it a shot, though be prepared for some frustration when dealing with a few overly enthusiastic kids. So yeah, if you're looking for a multiplayer car combat game that's still alive and kicking today, well, this is pretty much your only option. But just keep in mind, it's an online game, so expect to spend a little cash if you really want to progress, if you catch my drift. Badlands Crew. Okay, here's another Mad Max-inspired car combat game, but this time it's from the same devs behind the infamous Bomber Crew and Space Crew. And just like those previous games, this one isn't a full-blown action title. Instead, it leans more toward real-time strategy and management. I know some of you were probably expecting something else, but for the older folks out there who used to play tabletop car combat games, this might just scratch that nostalgic itch. So yeah, it's not Twisted Metal, but it is technically a car combat game, just with a different flavor. Grab it while it's still hot. Carmageddon 2, Carpocalypse Now. Now, regarding this legendary game, I was honestly surprised to see it available on Steam considering how old it is. Moreover, I don't think I need to explain this game at all. If you know, you know. And there's probably nothing I could say to convince the younger generation to give it a shot anyway. It definitely looks dated. So yeah, this one is for the OG players who want to relive that classic feeling. But, just a heads up though, this game is pretty brutal in terms of presentation, so maybe don't play it in front of your kids. Bandits. Phoenix Rising. Okay, this one is another old classic from the 2000s, so if you still have a lot of friends, bear with me for a second, will ya? So, as you can see, the game is set in a post-apocalyptic wasteland in the future. Yeah, I know, it sounds familiar, right? Seriously, what is it with car combat and the end of the world? Anyway, don't expect any complex mechanics here. Like most games from the 2000s, it's simple, it's fun, and somehow it just clicks. Simply put, if you're old, or if you've played this game before, you might want to revisit it. Gas Guzzlers Extreme. Now, this one is actually more of a combat racing game than a pure car combat game. But, as you can see, it features a deathmatch mode where you can battle other cars, just like in traditional car combat titles. And obviously, with games like this, don't expect realistic driving physics. It's basically Burnout, but with mounted guns. So, yeah, it's pure chaos and destruction with a sprinkle of racing. So if you're looking for a combat racer that also offers a solid deathmatch mode, then definitely grab this one, especially if it's on sale. Mad Max. I know, some of you might be asking, what the hell is an open-world action game doing on this list? Well, let me tell you. This game, obviously based on the Mad Max universe, was praised not just for its expansive open world, but also for its car combat mechanics. In fact, the vehicular combat is what really makes it stand out from other open-world titles. And yeah, I get it. It's not a pure car combat game where you can just focus on battling other cars. But still, if you're into car combat, this one's a must-play. Rage 2. Now, just like Mad Max, this one isn't a pure car combat game either. It's actually a first-person shooter set in a post-apocalyptic open world. Yeah, another post-apocalyptic game. Shocking, right? Anyway, what makes this game stand out is the addition of some decent vehicular combat mechanics. You can battle other vehicles in different areas, kind of like in Mad Max, but with way more bullets flying around. So yeah, it's not strictly a car combat game, but if you're looking for something that mixes shooting and driving, this one's worth checking out.
Stay with you, but this girl needs some shut-eye.
Grip, combat racing. Okay, I know. I said at the beginning that this list focuses on car combat games, not combat racing games. But here we are with a game that literally has combat racing in the title. But let me explain. So this game is primarily a futuristic combat racing game, but it also features a deathmatch mode where you can enjoy classic arena-style car combat. And since all the vehicles are futuristic, the experience feels a bit different compared to games like Gas Guzzlers. However, I still think this one's worth checking out, even if you only care about the deathmatch mode. Jak X, combat racing. Alright, just like Grip, this one is primarily a combat racing game as the title obviously suggests. However, it also features a classic car combat deathmatch mode, along with another mode called Sport Hunt, where you hunt moving targets while fending off other competitors. And honestly, if you don't mind cartoonish graphics, I'd say give this one a shot. And if you're old enough to remember it from its PS2 glory days, or if you're a fan of the Jak and Daxter franchise, definitely check it out, especially now that it's available on PS4 and PS5. Dark Future Blood Red States. Now, with this game, don't expect a traditional action-packed car combat experience. Nope, this one, just like Badlands Crew, leans more toward an RTS-style vehicular combat game, and that's not surprising considering it's based on a tabletop board game from the 80s. That said, many have called it a Mad Max ripoff, though the setting leans more futuristic than the usual diesel punk vibe. So, yeah, this kind of game isn't for everyone, not even die-hard car combat fans. But if you're into strategic, slower-paced gameplay, then rest assured this one's definitely for you.
Let's do this.
Interstate 76. When people talk about car combat games, this one almost always comes up, especially if they started gaming back in the 90s. Set in an alternate 1976 where the oil crisis never ended, the game mixes vehicular warfare with a funky 70s aesthetic, complete with disco vibes, muscle cars, and a jazzy soundtrack. However, what really sets it apart though is its semi-open levels, tactical combat, and surprisingly deep storyline. It's not just about blowing stuff up, it's about outdriving and outgunning your enemies with style and finesse. So if you're on PC, don't skip this hidden gem. Nightmare Kart. Now this one is an indie kart racing game designed to look like it came straight out of the PS1 era. And honestly, it nails that retro aesthetic perfectly. And like some other titles on this list, it's primarily a kart racer with combat elements. But yes, it also features a battle mode where you can duke it out with other karts using all sorts of wacky weapons and tactics. So if you're into modern retro games, this one's worth checking out. Oh, and did I mention it's free to play? Yeah, no reason not to give it a shot. Crash Team Racing, Nitro-Fueled. Okay, this one is actually my favorite kart racing game of all time. I love it so much that I kinda got really good at it. You know, so good that I almost never lose to my friends, unless they cheat, of course. Anyway, this game has a battle mode where you enter an arena and go all out, attacking others while defending yourself with all kinds of items. And honestly, I think that this is one of the best games for a good old-fashioned couch multiplayer session. Assuming you've still got friends to play with, that is. Twisted Metal Black. Alright, this game is one of the best car combat titles in history, if not the best. I mean, seriously, the Twisted Metal series helped bring car combat into the mainstream back in the day, alongside the Vigilante games. And if I remember correctly, this one was the best-selling car combat game on the PS2. So yeah, we're lucky that this bad boy is now available on PS4 and PS5, making it accessible to a new audience. Not saying that the modern audience is into this kind of game, of course, but hey, at least now you can relive your childhood. So do you agree with our picks? Check out these other videos from us and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.